A few hours after midnight, in a residential neighborhood, where most lights have gone off, a brief sequence of sounds begins. It doesn't start as a single, continuous call. Instead, it arrives in fragments, one long, rising note, followed by shorter, uneven bursts, then overlapping responses from different directions. The sound spreads across blocks, then fades, then returns again from a slightly different location. No visible movement explains it. The streets remain still. The sound, however, shifts position. This pattern, intermittent, distributed, and often short-lived, appears repeatedly in urban areas where coyotes are present. It doesn't follow a strict schedule, but it tends to occur during hours when human activity is reduced and environmental noise is low. The behavior is not constant. It emerges under specific conditions and then disappears once those conditions change. In urban environments, coyotes operate within fragmented spaces. Parks, drainage corridors, golf courses, rail lines, and even quiet residential streets function as connected pathways, rather than isolated territories. These spaces are not fully controlled or continuously occupied. Instead, they are used in segments, often at different times, with movement constrained by traffic, lighting, and human presence. Under these conditions, maintaining spatial awareness becomes less about visual contact and more about indirect signaling. Howling appears within this context as a behavior that manages distance without requiring proximity. When a coyote produces a long, sustained call, it travels across obstacles that would otherwise block movement: fences, roads, buildings. The call does not need a direct line of sight. It moves through gaps in the urban structure, reaching individuals that may be several blocks away, but still within the same loosely connected range. The structure of the sound itself reflects this function. It is not a single uniform signal. Instead, it often begins with a longer note that establishes presence, followed by shorter, more variable calls that allow others to respond. These responses are not synchronized in a strict sense. They overlap, creating a layered effect that makes it difficult to identify the exact number of individuals or their precise locations. This ambiguity is not accidental. In an environment where encounters carry risk both from other coyotes and from human activity, revealing exact position or group size can create unnecessary exposure. The sound pattern balances two competing constraints: the need to signal presence across distance, and the need to avoid becoming a fixed, predictable target. In many cases, the howling sequence is brief. It does not continue indefinitely. Once a response is received, or a boundary is implicitly acknowledged, the calls stop. The absence of continued sound is part of the signal. It indicates that no immediate movement or escalation is required. This is particularly relevant in urban settings, where direct encounters are costly. Physical confrontation requires movement across open or exposed areas, often crossing roads or entering spaces with higher human activity. The risk is not only injury from another animal, but also increased visibility to humans, vehicles, or artificial lighting. As a result, behaviors that reduce the need for direct contact become more viable. Howling allows for this reduction. Instead of moving toward each other to establish boundaries or maintain group cohesion, coyotes can rely on sound to maintain spacing. The behavior functions as a distributed coordination system, where individuals adjust their position based on auditory information rather than visual confirmation. This is not limited to territorial spacing. It also appears in situations where individuals need to re-establish contact after temporary separation. Urban environments frequently disrupt group movement. Roads divide habitats, human activity creates unpredictable disturbances, and food sources are scattered rather than centralized. As a result, individuals may become separated over short distances, without losing overall association. In these cases, howling provides a way to reconnect, without requiring immediate convergence. The call carries information about general location and activity state, but not precise direction or distance. This allows separated individuals to move gradually toward each other, while maintaining flexibility in their path. If conditions change, such as increased human activity or traffic, the movement can be adjusted without committing to a fixed route. Again, the structure of the sound supports this flexibility. It is detectable, but not precise. It is informative, but not exact. This level of resolution matches the constraints of the environment. Urban noise also plays a role in shaping when the behavior occurs. During the day, background noise from traffic, construction, and human activity reduces the effective range of sound. signals are more likely to be masked or distorted, requiring greater energy to transmit, and increasing the chance of misinterpretation. At night, the same environment becomes acoustically more open, with fewer competing sounds. Even moderate vocalizations can travel further and remain clearer. This shift in acoustic conditions changes the cost-benefit balance of vocal signaling. At night, the same call reaches more individuals with less effort and lower risk of interference. The timing of howling reflects this change. It is not simply tied to darkness, but to the reduction of environmental noise that allows sound to function more efficiently. Light conditions also matter, but in a different way. Reduced visibility increases the uncertainty of movement. When visual cues are limited, relying on sound becomes more advantageous. However, increased darkness also raises the risk of unexpected encounters both with humans and other animals. In this context, announcing presence before movement can reduce the likelihood of sudden, close-range interactions. The call effectively extends awareness beyond immediate perception. This does not eliminate risk, but it redistributes it. Instead of encountering another individual at close range without warning, the interaction is preceded by a signal that allows both sides to adjust. Movement can be slowed, redirected, or stopped entirely based on the response. This reduces the frequency of high-intensity encounters, which are costly in terms of energy and injury. Food availability adds another layer to this behavior. In urban areas, food sources are often dispersed and inconsistent. Trash bins, compost piles, small animals, and occasional human-provided food create a patchwork of opportunities rather than a single, reliable source. This distribution encourages wider movement and increases the likelihood of individuals crossing into overlapping areas. In such conditions, maintaining clear but flexible spacing becomes important. Howling contributes to this by providing a way to signal recent presence without requiring continuous occupation of a space. An area does not need to be physically defended at all times. A recent call can indicate that the space is in use, reducing the likelihood of immediate overlap. At the same time, the lack of a call can signal temporary absence, allowing others to move through without direct confrontation. This creates a dynamic system where space is managed through intermittent signaling rather than constant defense. The behavior remains effective as long as the signals are timely and the responses are consistent. Over time, patterns emerge not in the sense of fixed routines, but in repeated tendencies. Certain areas produce more frequent calls, often where movement corridors intersect or where resources are more variable. Other areas remain relatively quiet, either because they are less used, or because visibility and risk make vocal signaling less advantageous. The pattern is not uniform across the city. It shifts based on local conditions, traffic patterns, human activity, availability of cover, and the distribution of food. In each case, howling appears where it provides a functional advantage in managing distance, uncertainty, and risk. The behavior does not persist continuously. It appears, resolves a constraint, and then stops. Later, under similar conditions, it appears again. Back in the residential neighborhood, the sequence of sounds that began a few minutes earlier has already ended. There is no visible change in the environment, no movement across the street, no indication of where the animals have gone. But the absence of sound reflects a completed adjustment. Positions have been updated. Distances have been re-established. No further signaling is needed for now. Hours later, under similar conditions, reduced noise, limited visibility, dispersed activity, the pattern may repeat, not as a fixed routine, but as a response to the same underlying constraints. The sound returns, carries across the same obstacles, overlaps briefly with distant responses, and then fades again. Each instance is temporary, but the function remains consistent.